Now let's get to the news magazine.
Yes.
Tempo. I know the episode that led to, co-founding
Yes.
these platforms. You've talked about
Yes.
that in your book.
Mm-hmm.
But my question is, these platforms were popular for guerrilla journalism, investigative journalism. Are you worried about continuity, and then what could be the fate of investigative journalism? The kind of attention that the news magazine PM used to give to that kind of aspect of journalism. Are you bothered that you might not have that anymore?
Yes, as I did earlier on, we don't even have the resources to do that anymore. We don't have the people who are that committed. We had young men and women who are ready to give their life to ensure that we published those stories that we published. We don't have them anymore. They are no longer there. They are not educated and prepared for such a task.
Is it the crop of journalists, or what you call editorial policy of the platform?
No, it is the crop. If you have editorial policy, if you have that leadership, you don't even have people who can execute it. You don't. I've tried to do one or two things since then with some young men. It never works. They either betray you or they are just lackadaisical in their attitude to things. So it's just. I think the mistake we made would have been for us to immediately, as soon as we are getting into democracy, try to acquire a radio and television license and then move into the new media. Nobody waits for 1 week to learn about a story now. When something is happening now, it's immediate. It's the speed of light. Yeah. So who then want to wait for another 1 week, as we used to do in those days? We ought to have quickly embraced social media, embraced television and radio. But as it is, we still have the news on the online. They still do some great reporting. And put things there. So
I'm worried it's looking like a normal news platform, unlike what it used to be.
Yes, the vibrancy of that period, it's no longer there. Many of us, the leading lights, have also moved on to do some other things. Bayo Nonuga is in the villa now. I'm in Ekiti here, tending to my goats and my flowers, and this morning I've been to the farm to plant corn, maize, and I do my writings. I do a lot of reading and all of that. Apollo Yomi is publishing Premium Times in Abuja. Sherekende has since moved on to do his city people. So it's only Mr. Kule Ajibade who is left on ground. So
what's the plan for secession and continuity?
Well, there are still people there who started with us. Demola Adegamibe is still there, and a few others. They are trying their best within the limitations of resources and all of that. Yeah. But that idea, is already well immortalized. It's not something that can be erased in any way.
There was something I missed out.
Yes.
To go back.
Right.
It was your experience when you were jailed, in prison. Can you recount your experience and what kept you at that period? What was your survival instinct?
Yeah. The fact of, it's either life or death. It's 50-50. I could come out of this place alive. I may not come out of it alive. I quickly resolved that in my mind. The only regret I had at that time was that I had young children who may suffer, in my absence. That was I had a young wife who had just married not too long before then. That was it. But I had no regret in any way. I had no regret. And when things became very bad, that I almost lost my mind, I devised means of surviving. For example, I had a huge beard and an afro hairstyle when I was there, sleeping on the bare floor in a solitary confinement. So what I do when I wake up, after they fed me a horrible meal for the day, I'll pick at my beard and pull the beard, put them on the floor, separate the gray one from the black one. I'll count the gray, know the number of the grays I have, count the black, then I'll shovel them again. And then began the process. Because again, I was sitting down in the void all day, all night, under a very terrible heat, in an enclosure can dealt a blow to your mind. So I needed to have something, for my mental sanity. And then at the point I suffered insomnia. I suffered a terrible insomnia, and there was an incident. A lady who was a girlfriend to General Husseini, but they are broken up, kept some of his cards, community cards, and was using them to ask for contract all over. They arrested her and brought her in. I heard her crying inside the cell, and I concluded that was my wife. I cried. Why have you gone to arrest my wife? Who will take care of my children? I kept crying. The man on duty that night just came on and said, "What is your problem?" I said, "You have gone to arrest my wife." He just banged and left. So the man who came relieve him of the duty in the morning came and met me still crying. He said, "Is your wife Calabar?" I said, "No, my wife is not Calabar." It's okay. Brought the key, opened the iron door to the cell, and then took me to where the lady was. And I met the lady on the floor, crying. "Is this your wife?" I said, "No, it's not my wife." Then took me back. That moment I fell down. I slept all day. I said, and I woke up and I said, my mind was making a bend. So so I complained. They now brought me a Bible, very, very stingy Bible, it's still there. I'll show you when you go around. It's just the New Testament, blue cover like this, with tiny prints. I must have read that, more than 10 times over and over, I kept reading and reading it, so. Yeah, it was a nasty experience. Another experience was when I had diarrhea, very bad diarrhea. Almost every 5 minutes, I was calling them to come and take me to the toilet. I requested that they buy drugs for me. They refused to buy drugs for me. So I became very weak and faint. At the point, I laid flat in my cell, and I didn't even know when poo started coming out of my behind. And I said, I do not want to die. I kept telling myself, I will not die here. I will not die here. I'm an avid reader. Sometimes in the past, I'd come by a book by Morarji Desai, former Prime Minister of India. He calls the book The Water of Life. It's about urine therapy. That, all through his adult life, he has been drinking his urine and has never been to the hospital. So that just came flashing through my mind. That time there is this water called Ragolis. I had a bottle which they used to bring me water to drink from the tap. And also in the evening when I'm going to sleep, I pour water in it, cock it, and then use it as pillow. So I just took that water, took that bottle, pee inside it, and I drank. Again, miraculously. I don't know whether it is fate or whether it's just by sheer accident. I recovered from the diarrhea without any medication.
Was there any attempt to get you poisoned?
Well, on occasions, they wanted to give me injection, which I rejected, which I never allowed. Then they took me to the hospital at the time, military hospital in Ikoyi. They chained my leg to the bed and my hand to the bed, and I warned the nurses that I was going to take injection from them. That if they try to, whatever it is they chain, I will fight with it. So they allowed me. Yeah.
All right, interesting.
Yes.
So let's talk about your love for artworks.
Yes.
It's obvious.
Yes.
Everywhere you go.
Yes. I take that back to Ife. When I told you that I live with a professor of history in Ife. At that point, that was my first contact with artworks. That was my first contact, to be honest. Everywhere in the house there were carvings, there were carvings, there were paintings, and I got fascinated by them. There was also a library, a huge library that beyond what I've done in school, also introduced me to reading. I went in there, National Geographic, Reader's Digest, West Africa magazine, Newsweek magazine, Time magazine, Times International published by Daily Times, everything. And then a supply of all the papers published in Nigeria in that place. So I read my head out and I fed my eyes. And again, moving around the campus, seeing the beauty and all of that, the greenery, those are the kind of things that prepare me for the life I'm living now. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So let's wrap up this interview
Yes.
by asking you, how do you unwind? And what's the next phase for you?
Well, you know, I one thing about me is that I do not wait for a particular time to enjoy myself. I believe that as I'm working very hard, I should also enjoy. I should relax. No dull moment. I play with my children. I play with my wife. I play with my staffers. When we're in the news, you know, even in the face of the challenges, we go to the beach. I'll take the staffers to the beach. We go to Takwa Bay at a party. We go to Leko Beach, Akodo, you know, La Campagne. You know, sometimes we even meet at nightclubs. Last coffees and you know, despite the fact that I don't drink and I don't smoke, I love the company of young people. We share ideas, we enjoy ourselves. And if I find myself outside the country too, I go to interesting places. I go and look at museums. I go to the beach. I go to concerts. You know, and that is me. You know, I love to wear good clothes, dress fine, will not be expensive. Wear good shoes, it may not be designer, but I keep clean and all of that. Because you do not know when God can say your time has ended. So if you then keep suspending, when I'm a millionaire, I will do this. When I'm a billionaire, no, I don't. I don't go for luxury. A vehicle for me is something that can take me from one point to the other. You know, that's it. You know, if I have the money to travel, I buy an economic class ticket. You know, I'm going to London, yes, 6 hours. Yes, the man in business class, 6 hours. Same thing, we get down, we go to our different places. Yeah, so, and I also take good care of my health. You know, my vitamins are always with me. I try to exercise my body. You know, when I feel I'm getting overweight, I try to pipe low a bit. And that's it. And God has blessed me with a good wife, good children who have accomplished. You know, I have 5 children. You know, one is a politician like me now. She's in the presidency. I have, you know, the younger sister is abroad. You know, working at has gotten her master's, working at her PhD. The one that follows is a lawyer based in Canada. The one that follows is a chartered accountant, chartered banker, who at 27 has just been promoted vice president of JP Morgan, an international investment bank. You know.
Be a proud father.
Yes, then the last one is in the medical profession in Canada as well. So I'm done. So all I do now, read, write, you know, process food for sale, grow things for consumption and for sale. I get my goats, I eat, I produce my meat, I produce my fish, I produce my vegetables, I produce my fruits, and I feel good. I don't envy anybody. I don't miss anything. I do not. The only thing I miss is good governance. Why we are not giving good life, good governance to our people. That's the only regret I have. Yeah.
What a way to wrap up this interview.
Yeah.
I must say a special thank you.
Thank you very much.
Time
Thank you.
Busy
Thank you.
schedule
Thank you.
To grant this interview and welcome us into your home.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Well,
You've had your stories.
my pleasure.
Inspiring.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much for this special.
Thank you.
All right, you just heard Senator Babafemi Ojudu's story, talking about his life, his achievement, and his legacy. On that note, we'll call it a wrap on today's edition of Exclusive Interview. Don't forget you can follow us on all our social media platforms. Please do, for you to get other exclusive interviews. Until I return afresh with another special guest for another conversation. I am Femi Johnson Ayodele. Bye for now.